Hello, everybody. Welcome to Season 4, VIE Speaks Conversations with Heart and Soul. I'm super excited today about a very interesting group of three gentlemen in the studio. David Richard, who is many things, entrepreneur, restaurateur, has a film studio called Illuminate. And then we have screenplay writers who also produced a graphic novel on a very important screenplay and graphic novel called Days of Darkness. And this is written by Joseph Riccobono and Peter Compagno. And let's get into it because this is a lot and I'm fascinated by it. I'll give a little bit of the backstory. I met David about a year ago at Asia, and we were just connecting, talking about the magazine, and David started talking about, some things that he had done in the past, and this was one of them, and I was immediately intrigued by that. I didn't even really want to talk about the magazine or does he want an ad in the magazine anymore. I'm like, so the movie studio, so like, let's go back to that.
Right. I saw that look in your face when I said, you're like,
and
let's hear more about this.
So he starts telling me, and then as David is recounting this, I'm like, that's Book of Revelations. Like, that's what you're telling me right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? There's a screenplay and what happened? And he said it was 10 years ago. I'm like, well, what's happening now? And he said, well, no, like, I'll get you a graphic novel or whatever. So I think I told this to you when I talked to you on the phone, Peter. When David told me about it, my curiosity was piqued to like the nth degree. And I am a very curious person, and I do a lot of creative things, like crazy creative things, and somehow I'm able to, God willing, pull them off. But when I heard it, I'm like, oh, this has to be a movie. Like it, and David is saying, well, yeah, like that's what we were doing, years ago. So I think it took a little bit, maybe a month or two before I got this graphic novel, which is really, really well done and excellent, and started getting into it. My life got super busy, just trying to run some businesses, and I couldn't jump on it as fast as I wanted to, but it was always ever present in my mind. And then, I started circling back to David about it and like kept running point on it as best as I could. But when I did hear it initially from you, David, I thought, yeah, maybe of anything I ever knew about in my life right now, I would probably say this might be the most important thing that's ever happened. And I want to see it made.
Yeah.
And it's never left me at all. So
That's
the fact
great.
that I'm
Thank you.
meeting,
That's exciting.
It's an amazing compliment.
I mean, it's so, it was so ahead of its time, even 10 years ago, that I really can't believe it. And then I know it was even a labor of whatever it was, passion or love, or you just had to do it like before that, right?
Yeah, many years before that,
Many,
too.
many years
Many,
before
many
that.
years.
So this has been germinating in you for so long. Then you meet David, and then I'm trying to figure out like where to start here. Like it's such a rich story, and there's so much going on. But maybe start with the when you were shopping this, when David, you formed the production studio, and then you understood that this was something like crazy good, and you put your money into it and your time and your effort, and then you both were working in this as full time. You started shopping it to people. Like I know David shared with me fairly recently. What was the reaction when you started shopping it to some people, like whether they were agents or whatever?
I mean, we shopped it around. We were hoping to get, response of somebody just wanting to pick it up and run with it. But it was a big budget film.
Sure. Yeah.
So it was something that we got it to somebody, but they wouldn't have connections for that kind of budget. Or it was, well, we'll get this into these hands, and then, we get it into somebody's hands, and then, again, it would still be the budget. I remember shopping it around to somebody, and I felt like this was an opportunity. I'm not going to name the name just yet, but this was somebody that then made 2 movies kind of off subject from this, but not the exact piece. And so then we started getting a little gun shy of, Are we going to put it out there and maybe somebody's going to run with it and steal the idea? But then nobody did it. It never did get produced beyond that point. But we were shopping it whenever we could to whomever.
And one of the things that was important was we put together some concept art, because we had a screenplay that Peter and I had worked on. It's what got David interested. But so we wanted to have something visual to grab people, and so we did some concept art for it and shopped it around a bit. And as we were getting these, kind of hitting these hurdles and realizing what's involved, we realized that okay, our choices are somebody else is perhaps going to do it in some other form, maybe after seeing our idea, or maybe not, but because it's certainly an idea that's been around for a long time, right? It's very, very old story. So we already had this concept art, and with David's help and David's backing and belief, Peter and I had bootstrapped this. We did all this work on the side while we had our day jobs, and we were writing the story, pushing the story, developing it. With David's help, we got the money to go and make the graphic novel. So we were already getting some artwork, already getting some concepts, and it convinced us, hey, this is a way to put it in a more distinct form that can really show somebody what it could be. Also to solidify that we were creators of it. It's not just some random seed of an idea.
And the work that went into doing that, just the creative side of figuring out who the players were, what does it look like? We discussed this last night.
Each character, we had to say that, their leg was in a certain position, or maybe a wing was going to be raised for an angel in a certain way.
And that was after finding who was going to do the drawings and what those drawings were going to look like, because we went to two Comic-Cons, right? We went to one out in LA and another one in New York. And in LA, the first artist was more computer generated stuff. And for whatever reasons, we moved on from that, right?
Yeah, but it was very cool
It was
art.
very
And
cool.
then, but it
Do we
just,
still have any of that art?
I'm not sure if we still have that art. It was very cool. At the time, I don't think that the artist wanted to take on the full project.
huge
It was a
project.
big project
Yeah.
at the time for him.
Yeah.
So then we looked at some other artists.
And did we meet Glass House in New York?
I'm not exactly sure how we heard about Glass House. I think that they were it's Glass House Graphics, I think, and they were a big group at the time, and so we were looking at their website with all their artists, and we were saying, okay, we like this art or we like this artist, and then we realized what our budget could handle, because some of these artists are even much
Always comes down to the money, doesn't it?
always comes down to the money.
That's a lot of pages. That's a lot of art.
Yes.
I know it
So
is,
we needed to figure it out.
To
We
budget
found it. We
what
found
that
a
was.
young, upcoming artist in Brazil.
Amelia Wu.
Amelia Wu, who
Yeah.
was phenomenal.
Amazing.
Yeah, she did a phenomenal job. Just the screenplay that shows our notes and then what she would come back with.
Yeah.
They're
They're all pencil sketches from the very beginning to determine what each character looked like, and that was up to them. And
Where did you find her?
She worked with Glass House.
Okay.
She's
So-
one of their representatives. So,
Yeah. Do you still keep in contact with her?
I think the last time we talked to her was maybe about 3 or 4 years ago.
Uh-huh.
But I think as fast as I reached out to her then, she was reaching back out to us within a day. And I think it would be the same thing. We've reached out now.
Well, for her, this is a part of her life. This is a
Right.
She spent
huge.
that was a year dedicated, at least
Yeah.
a year dedicated full-time work for her, where she couldn't do any other projects.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So was it a passion project for her too, as well as it was for both of you?
I would think so.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think-
absolutely.
It was
I
an
think it was a passion.
opportunity for her
Well,
because it was
Sure.
the largest job that she had ever done.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
and so for her, it was an opportunity to
Yeah.
prove that she can handle something
Yes.
like this, because not every artist can. It's one thing to be really good at sketching a couple of little pictures, but to have to carry it through day after day, day after day, have it look consistent, and to be actually just dependable enough to complete a project of this length, like not every artist can. So right there, that was important for her to be able to kind of prove herself as a true professional, not just somebody that can draw well.
Right, right. And work with a team and all that.
Yeah,
And then,
absolutely.
David, for you, then, what was it inside of you that went, I'm going to put my money behind this and I'm going to go? Because you were going full bore.
Yeah, at the time, I had just sold my company. I had landed a very large contract following Katrina, and I sold that business. And I was looking for new ventures, and I just bought a new house. And when I was unpacking some stuff, the screenplay was at the top of one of the boxes. I remember I picked it up and sat down, and I was in my formal dining room and just started reading it. And I'm not really, I don't read a lot, you know, and I kept reading it. And Peter had given it to me back in 2004, I think.
Yeah.
Katrina hit in 2005, which everybody knows how bad that was. But yeah, I said, you know what, I like this. So we talked about what it would look like to start.
And I knew David at the time, but I didn't know David as well as I know David now. So
Right.
I wanted to get the screenplay into somebody's hands that may be able to do something with it or have the finances to push it to another level. It didn't happen at that exact time, but then after Katrina, I get a call from David, and we were getting together almost immediately after that to see how we could form a group to put this out there. At the time, Joe and I were partners in this, and so I said, well, I've got another business partner with me. This would be
And
an
that's when
opportunity.
Imminent Studios was formed. So we're a third and a third and a third on that, right? Yeah. So we're equal partners on that. And Imminent Studios owns the screenplays and the graphic novels.
Yeah, and at the time it was, it was whatever we wrote. This would be as a part of Imminent Studios, and so, we were trying to put as much material together and put together a studio package that if we had somebody pick up our projects, we'd have some things ready to go.
And I forgot about this too. So another investment I did was an energy drink company, and these guys. Another screenplay we have is Napoleonic. And they actually filmed it, right?
It was a short film, yes.
Short film, right. So they did my commercials for Cult, and all of our promotions, they were, y'all wrote the whole commercial for Cult.
Yeah, we did. We put
Which
that
is great.
together, and
it was incredible.
it was just a project that let's put this concept out there, and we were working with a little person at the time. His name was Drew Varick.
I don't know what the thing was with the little people, but we
Well,
used them in everything.
We used him. We had him in our short film Napoleonic.
Yep.
I met him, and then
Great
next thing you
guy.
know, he was great for the commercial that we were doing. We were shooting that and putting that out there for
What was
Cult
his
Energy.
name?
Drew Varick.
Drew Rent, yeah.
What kind
he's
of
a really
airtime were you buying then for this drink?
it was a
this-
short 30-second clip.
It was
and
a
we were
30-second clip.
running it before the Saints games. So yeah,
You could find it on YouTube.
Okay.
Yes, I forgot about it. I'm actually in the commercial with a medical mask on. We didn't have enough extras
was
that
you
day.
doing,
Yeah, that
This
was me
is
in the
great.
commercial. My sister was in the commercial, so we were bootstrapping
Yeah.
projects like that whenever we could.
Mm-hmm.
and we had a good relationship with the parish president of Jefferson Parish, and they were real big into the film industry.
Yeah.
So they helped us with locations,
Yeah,
right?
that was
They
huge
get you-
help.
yeah,
Yep.
And they got us
Huge
out to
help.
Sundance. We went
Yes.
to Sundance, which
David
was
was
huge.
telling me that. Tell me about that a little bit more.
we
Like,
did. We did a joint venture with Jefferson Parish, and split a hospitality suite on Main Street at Sundance Film Festival. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
that was
right
cool.
Were
there.
you able to show anything of anything
We
that you were
did.
doing?
I mean, we had the concept art already prepared at that
Okay.
time, so we had a big,
Oh, you
huge
Oh,
poster of the
huge.
cover.
We didn't have.
We didn't
those?
have the full book at the time.
We had something, huh? that
We
were
did. It was
handing
concept
out?
art, right?
It was concept art,
Okay,
and we made a huge banner
Yeah.
that
Yes.
had the front cover of Days of Darkness, which was
Yeah.
pretty,
And a beautiful
pretty
model.
amazing, yeah. And
Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
Walking
But at
around,
the time, the
talking
graphic
to
novel
people.
was in production, but
Sure.
it wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't finished
Right.
yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So that was a
That
chance
was-
for us to try to get some
That was a cool
buzz
experience.
out there
Yeah.
before it was done.
Making some
Yeah,
connections.
that's great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you were taking it very seriously
Absolutely.
and taking all the
Very.
necessary steps that you would do to basically take it to market, right, and shop it. Can
And we
you?
made some great contacts at that event.
Yeah.
So
Could you give the listeners a quick synopsis of the graphic novel, but then describe to them like you were doing prior to us going live, where it's a trilogy, so that we can set up the concept that you have.
Yeah, so the story starts with how the angels were formed by God to watch over and guide the humans, and the human beings were, as it's put in the novel, God's most beloved. So they were given a gift of free will, and then from there, the angels, specifically Lucifer, felt slighted by God, and at that point formed a rebellion, which is how the graphic novel starts. And from there, God asked Michael the archangel to remove Lucifer, and that's that that iconic picture that we've seen where Michael the archangel is standing on Lucifer's neck, and he's ready to throw him out of heaven, and that's where the story picks up. Where we deviate is what happens at the end of times, and so the graphic novel goes into what's basically God's judgment, or God is calling for the judgment of the human beings, and Lucifer, or Satan now, will be given time to gather all those souls on earth during the final judgment. And so the book takes you through the book of Revelations, the seven seals, what those signs will look like during the end of times, and then coinciding with that final battle between Lucifer and Michael the archangel.
And the prophecy of the 3 days of darkness was what kind of took the book of Revelation stuff and then expounded on another prophecy from within the church that was terrifying, scary to us, and we thought would be something that hasn't been seen before.
It hasn't.
Yeah,
Not in this format. It hasn't been seen before.
No, and that's what I was saying earlier. When I was 10 years old, I went to Medjugorje, and that's when the 3 days of darkness. I mean, as a 10-year-old, you hear about 3 days of darkness where the devil's going to roam the earth and gather all the souls, and it scares you. So that sat with me forever. And then maybe at a certain point we started looking at our high school years, and we're into feature films, and then that's how it became more of a story of a movie or a feature film like that. But the Days of Darkness is the main crux of the film, which is 3 days of total darkness on earth, no electricity. The only thing that lights or that's capable of light are blessed candles. You're not supposed to go out or open your door because then the devil would take you at that point. And so that was like a horror film.
Right. Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying to you, Joe, on the phone. Like, it's so scary,
Absolutely.
And if you could get that out there so that more people besides us know this, then, maybe
That's the goal.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is like
That
the
is the
ultimate goal, because so many people don't believe it's real. You can't see something you can't see the spiritual world. People think it doesn't exist, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest trick the devil did was making people think he doesn't exist. And that's kind of where we are in the world right now. It seems like God is being pushed out.
Yeah.
And more of the hedonism is being welcomed. And so this story is a warning.
A very big warning in it.
And like you were saying earlier, the graphic novel in comparison to the trilogy, this is more of just a little bit of the beginning of the first one, and then mostly the end.
Yes, so it's the beginning, and the beginning is something that was always what we wanted to start with. We've never seen a story of how Lucifer became Satan, or this battle between Michael and Lucifer, but this would be volume 3 of that trilogy.
Volume 3.
And then, the first 2 volumes would be the human characters that lead up to these 7 seals being broken.
These prophecies, the pre-Days of Darkness build up, and then living through those times, because there is certainly, of course, there's elements of that in this book, but this is more the start and the end, and there's a big chunk of middle of the story that we went much deeper on as well. That could be added in.
One nugget of truth that I never really thought of before when I read it is that Lucifer was actually jealous of humans because he disagreed that we should be forgiven, and he thought we were horrible and they were superior beings, and then God said, no, you're not superior to them. And so really he hated humans and was jealous of them.
Yes.
When you really understand the very simplicity of that, it's easier to understand that he's real, and that God really loves us because we are quite fallen. Humans are quite fallen. Yeah.
Yeah, there's flaws to all of us,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that free will is what part of the story was about. God gives us that opportunity to choose Him
Mm-hmm.
or to choose another direction in our lives. That choice is ours, and
Yes.
Lucifer just happened to, to want to put us in whatever traps he could to pull us away from God.
Right.
So that, yeah, the pride that we've all heard about
Yes.
with Lucifer, that became,
Yeah.
that became part of his downfall, but.
Yeah.
It was part of how much he hated humans.
Yes.
That's what it was more
Exactly.
about.
Causes
Exactly.
a lot of havoc in the grand plan, obviously.
Yes. One other thing, when I read it again last night, that stood out like a neon light to me was the scene where you have like a Dan Rather type reporter, whether it was him or not, I don't know, saying this just in news today that Hamas has attacked Israel. And I'm like, okay, so I know that they wrote this 10 years ago. And like, this is actually really on the news right now.
Yeah.
And like, then what do you think when you're like, well, yeah, we wrote about this and, 10 years ago. And then you shared with me that you've, over the course of time, had to take some things out because it became
It became real.
real.
Yeah,
And so
they
you
happened
couldn't
and-
prophetically
Yeah,
say what's going to happen.
it turned into stale old news as opposed to this future build up. And the book is about a near future, so
Right.
you have to try to be a step ahead. So once
Yes.
certain things happen, we're like, all right, well, can I use that one now?
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah.
back to the drawing board and,
Right.
and see what else the world is going to unfold
Yeah.
before us. But Hamas, I mean, we did
Yeah.
research on different things. We started to look at that turmoil that's been there for thousands of years, and Hamas, other terrorist organizations, they became part of our story because they became a threat to the world, and different things that we saw at a certain point may be an issue. We never thought that the things that are happening today in our world with Hamas and Israel would have ever happened. But they are these are the times that we're living in. I think Hamas and Israel are just one other example of a world of potential days of darkness that we're living in right now.
Exactly. So, where to go from here? Where to go? Like pick it back up again. I think I shared with David a couple of days ago that I thought the world wasn't ready for it 10 years ago, even though I thought it was, and I commend you. But I do think it's ready for it today. And so
We feel the same.
you do.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we feel the same. We feel that it's a matter of getting it into the right hands, having someone else have that vision that this is a timely film. The material's there, the interest. I mean, there's a lot of things about Judgment Day or an end of the world type scenario right now, but a feature film at the right time. That's
I feel a feature film, this at the end of the movie, it would be dead silent.
Mm-hmm.
You
Oh, yeah.
wouldn't hear a pin drop. I think
Yeah.
people would, in an orderly fashion, leave and be
Yes.
thinking.
yeah.
That's how I think people left the Passion of the Christ. When I went to the
100%.
no
Yeah.
one spoke.
Or you had people crying.
Yeah, several people crying, or like you sit in your chair for a long time because you can't get up because you're thinking. Yeah, it would be incredibly life altering or thought provoking to say the least. The absolute least, right?
Yeah,
One of the things that was always like special to us for the storytelling of it was that it has the kind of the terrors and the horrors. It has the prophecies and really thinking through, okay, if this is the prophecy, what would that be like? What could that be like? But it also has these grand heroes and villains. It has, it has these characters that have been discussed, for, thousands and thousands of years. Very, iconic, and you take the greatest good and the greatest evil, and, all kinds of great movies have good villains and good heroes, but these are some of the biggest, highest tier level heroes and villains that you can have. So you have all these, the human element, the what if, the religious aspect, the fear and faith, but then you also still have this grand spectacle of the most powerful heroes and the worst evil villains that you could possibly come up with. So that, that was part of it. Is it weaves
Right.
all these things together.
Right.
So it brings a lot for a lot of different.
Right. But to your point, it's like great entertainment that you can't even fabricate, right?
Right.
And you know that humans want that fantastical entertainment. But the beauty of this is it would be, yes, all of that, which would envelop people to then go, oh, yes,
Something deeper
this is true.
to go. Yes. So it goes more than just, that's not,
And
that's
so-
not the full depth.
Yeah, to me, like, conventional preachers, like so many people have like, been exposed for like, being charlatans or, not real or disingenuous, and no one really looks to them. And like church can't be the church that it used to be before because nobody believes in that or the organized religion. So if you're going to like affect change, it would have to be in a different manner. And this is the manner that I think this is in, which it's not church, but it actually is church.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you said that. There's a lot of things that I think, this is part of even the trilogy that we wrote about, was that a lot of our I don't know, the churches or whatever groups that we used to rely on, you can't rely on them as much or trust them. And so
Right.
we felt like this was our chance of telling that true story that we would do our research on, take seriously, and then put it in a format, like you said, that other people would be able to at least be entertained while they're watching it, but then it would be thought-provoking
Yes.
at that point.
Yes. Yeah. Let me ask you this. I think now that you kind of shelved it, David's doing a lot of cool things. The rainmaker that David is doing a lot of things. And
Yes.
where are you now? Like now, present day, looking at the world, that your own project looks like it's like here, almost here. I know you've got your lives going on, successful businesses, kids, wives, and all that. Today, right now, at this minute, like where are you in the big push toward taking it off the shelf and like going for it? Everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're there. I mean, the good thing about, from my position, I do IT support. I've got a business. I've, 25 people that work for me now, but this will be a chance. I wanted to start that business so that literally I can go back and focus on this again and have the opportunity and the means to do that. So now that we've come full circle and been able to, put ourselves in a position to do that,
Sure.
we would go full bore with it and get it into the right hands. But, we were even talking about possibly shooting a trailer,
Yeah. Teaser,
like a
trailer,
2-minute
yeah.
teaser, and showing Michael and Lucifer, on screen, passing some lines back and forth, just to give people the idea, wow, this could happen on film. So, we're committed and in it 100%.
Sure. Absolutely.
A lot of also, just the experience. This time we have the experience of everything we learned along the way. Plus, fast forward, all of us as business owners, the new set of connections that we've each made and resources that we each have to bring to bear. So, it was nice, kind of looking at each other and being like, hey, might be another round in us here. So it was nice.
Yeah, that's good.
It's exciting.
So the band's back.
And
The band is
never
back.
went away.
No,
but-
but-
yeah,
Didn't
but we,
touch all this time.
yeah,
so.
we
Right.
definitely are. And Lisa, I want to thank you. You've been a great help in breathing life back into this project. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I believe in it like so wholeheartedly. Money is hard to raise, but it's not impossible to raise. I think I asked you, what are you talking about right now? Do you think with how much budgets are now, what would it take? I think I asked you that on the phone.
You
said
asked me, yeah.
you're out, like you don't know.
Does anybody really want to hear this number?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I have a guess in my head, but it might be even too small. But
I mean, 100 million at least.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I think I threw off. Is it 50 million? I thought it would at least be 50, but maybe 100. But
Yeah, we were looking at 300 is 65 million. And that's it's a very stylized type film that would show the angels in a certain way and the battles and the fighting. but 65 million's a lot
Yeah,
of money.
and that's green screen.
I think
Right.
if it's
Yeah.
a creative filmmaker that
Yeah.
took a look at the graphic
Yeah.
novel and had a vision of how they
Yeah.
could pull it
Yeah.
together, and there's a new technology now that didn't exist
Yes.
then.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'd be more curious to hear what a producer thinks it would be, and for us to be helping refine the writing and getting it to where it needs to be to
Right.
go on film. I think that would be that'd be the part I think we could really bring to bear. But somebody that's in it today and knows the ins and outs, they'd be better to come up with what the dollar figure is.
Yeah, some of those scenes can be.
Oh, that would
But
be.
there's also numerous ways to tackle a project like that artistically. So
Yeah.
I mean, they might come up with a way to shoot something or display something that gets the message across and cuts the budget. And so
Right.
And we were talking. I mean, it's not the same kind of film, but Robert Rodriguez did Sin City, and he took a small part of what he wanted that film to look like, and then everybody said, "Okay, yeah, let's do this."
Yeah.
And Frank Miller, and so I think if we took a smaller budget,
Yes.
showed what it was able to do,
Right.
and what it would look like, then the investment may come there
Right.
to budget the rest.
Right. Yeah. I think it's going to happen. I told that to David a couple of times. I mean, you put in the time, the work, the passion, it's your dream, and probably like pretty much what you were supposed to do. Like you probably couldn't have put it down if you wanted to. It doesn't sound like you could.
It was
impossible to
It
put down.
was more than part of you. You couldn't put it down. So
Yeah, there was a lot of years where we just trooped constantly. I mean, this was
Yeah.
before there was a budget. We worked for years together.
Yeah.
And then after there was a budget, we worked full
That was
time for
game
years.
on.
And then even after that,
Yeah.
we found other ways to keep it fresh. And we've refined the dialogue over the years.
Yeah.
A few times with things we've learned and things that happen that we need to adjust. So
What's the latest? I know the first edition was 2008. What is this one?
So that's 2016. So and that's what would happen. Sometimes David would contact me, what's going on with the projects, and I would say, well, we're looking at relettering this. We're looking at changing some of the dialogue, and we would reach out to the people involved. Zach was the letterer that we were working with, and we'd contact him, and he would say, okay, we'd do another round of it and put those edits out there. So it was, we weren't going to put it down.
Well, when we were talking on the phone, I think I had mentioned that I had just read within the last 2 or 3 weeks that Mel Gibson and Mark Wahlberg formed a film company together. And Mark Wahlberg is big into, he's into the Catholic app and everything. He's really very vocal about this right now. Like he really is like my version of a preacher, kind of in a best sense of the word.
That's
actually,
awesome.
And then what and they have the money. So there you go.
be the right
Easy
person
peasy,
to
right?
get into their hands.
Mel Gibson, give them a call.
My mom is infatuated with Mark Wahlberg. She's like seeing the Hitman or what is it?
That
one?
was actually pretty all right.
What is it called?
It's
not
the Hit-
Hitman. Is it?
I think it's the Hitman. Yeah,
It's where he gets framed.
yeah, I think so.
I'm not sure
Yeah,
about that.
gosh, she loves. I've seen it 100 times. I love that guy. She loves him.
I mean, Mel Gibson would be a great pick for this. I mean, after seeing Passion, but even after seeing Braveheart.
Yeah.
Braveheart.
Oh,
Yeah.
Braveheart.
The Shooter. The Shooter is the name of the movie.
That's a good
with
one.
Mark
Shooter's
Wahlberg.
great.
The Shooter.
Shooter.
The Shooter.
Yes, I did see
that's
that
a good
too.
one.
But there's a whole uprising right now of entertainment doing non-woke stuff. Like there's a whole like
Just a movement,
movement.
right?
Yeah. So they're part of that sort of non-woke thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the right people would have to, want to take this film and or this project, and then the entire undertaking to do that. I mean, it would be, they would be the right people to do something like that. But yeah, getting this script into their hands, that would be
Yeah.
Incredible.
dream come true.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So like I am a type of person that likes to go shoot from the top down, not from the bottom up. And so I think that should be your
Just get it right
Just
over there.
go right
I
there.
agree. I think we've tried the bottom up approach
Yeah.
and not, trying to step on toes, or maybe just not even wanting to take that shot. But that,
Take it.
yeah, I agree. That would be the way to, you find out right away if somebody's interested. And like you said, this is that time.
Right.
The world is
In need.
is in
In
need.
dire need.
In dire need.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The dream trio here, like this is pretty awesome. I don't think it was a mistake that we met, David.
No.
I mean, Asia, I love it, and I'm like a #1 fan of yours. Okay, and I'm gonna eat there as much as I can. But honestly, this trumps it, and
Yeah.
and Asia's pretty darn
Sure.
good. Okay.
Well, that's a big
Thank you so
compliment.
much.
We really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's
Well.
been a great opportunity.
Oh, thanks for coming over too from New Orleans.
Thanks for the
And,
invitation.
you're welcome.
Thank
and
you.
All good things, right? Just like onward and upward. And
Yes.
it's been a pleasure to speak with everybody here on this project. Thank you
We
very
appreciate
much.
you.
Thank you,
Thank
Lisa.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. If you're not a little bit interested or intrigued or motivated to find out more about this, I would be hard pressed to say that you weren't. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it and have a good day, everybody. Thank you for watching. Bye.